Hello everyone, hello. This year is dedicated to Lili Nishmas, Rachalea Bas, Reb Chaim Tzvi. We're in the middle of the Sefer Chafetz Chaim Klal Aleph. We're learning the halachos of Lashon Hara themselves. The Chafetz Chaim began with the basics, and we are up to Seif Hey. In Seif Hey, the Chafetz Chaim is talking about that you're not allowed to speak Lashon Hara even if someone else encourages you to and asks you to, even somebody important, like a parent. So let's review what he says, and we'll get to the footnote about Doeg. Seif Hey. Ein chil beiser ha-sipur beinim sipur miyatzmo b'retzoncha uveinim amad olav. Chaveiro bidvarim v'hiftziro ad sheyisaper lo. There's no difference in the Isser of Lashon Hara whether you just said it yourself stam, like sort of out of the blue, on your own volition, or if someone else encouraged you and pressured you to speak Lashon Hara. Mikol makom aser. V'afilu aviv o rabo, even a parent or a rebbe. Shemechuyev b'chvodam u'moram shelo listar divreihem. You're not allowed to argue on your parents, and you have to respect your parents and your rebbe. Imheim bikshu mimenu sheyisaper lehem inyan ploni uploni. But if they ask you to tell them a certain story, v'hu yodea shebetoch hasipur yuchrach lovo lidei Lashon Hara or afilu rak le'avak shel Lashon Hara asa lishma lehem. If you think you're going to have to speak Lashon Hara in responding to your rebbe or to your parent, you're not allowed to listen, and you can't tell the story. That's what the halacha says. The Chafetz Chaim quotes this. The Chafetz Chaim here is applying a basic standard halacha in Yeridea. He quotes here in footnote Ches. Pashat, it's obvious, he says. Bevor b'Yeridea, Siman Reishman, Dim Amar lo Aviv, La'avor, Afila Mitzvah Shel Divreihem, Lo Yishmalo. If a parent asks a child to do an Aveira, then the child's not allowed to listen. You're supposed to listen to your parents and do what your parents say, but if your parents say do an Aveira, you don't listen and you don't do the Aveira. Oh, that's halacha in Shulchan Aruch. So the Chafetz Chaim is applying that halacha here by Lashon Hara, and the same thing applies by a rebbe as well. The Chafetz Chaim here brings an interesting proof, an example of this from Tanakh. This is in footnote Zion. The proof is from the Maisa of Doeg with Shaul. Oh, so he goes as follows. Footnote Zion. Mimashimuvur be'kasuv gabe Maisa de Doeg shamar olav Shaul kimosha kasuv be'kro kulchem kashartam ayil kulchem yited ben yisha isados uchamim etc. Then go les ozni. David was running away from Shaul. Shaul thought that David was rebelling against the king, and Shaul thought that Doeg and his chevra were helping out David. So Shaul said, "You're all on David's side, Ben Yisha. You're not helping me find David, and he's rebelling against me. You're all against me." And he was encouraging them to tell him where David is, and who's with David, who's on his side. Even though Shaul was the king, and they were afraid of Shaul, and still this is one of the classic examples in Nacha of Rechilus. Doeg said to Shaul, "Yeah, he's by the Novir HaKohanim, Fachimelech," and Doeg spoke Rechilus against Achimelech, of Kohanim, and ultimately that led to that city being wiped out, Rachmana litzlan, and terrible things. So Doeg is considered a rochel for informing Shaul, even though Shaul was asking for good reasons from Shaul's perspective, and Doeg thought from Shaul's perspective it was usher, it was rechilus. Doedin lin Lashon Hara. And it's obvious, as we said in the next footnote class. In other words, this halach is obvious based on the halach in Shulchan Aruch and Yeridea that you don't do what your rebbe, your parent says if it violates halacha. That's obvious. But it happens to be that this is exactly what happened by the story of Doeg in Shmuel Aleph, and and doeg is considered, as we saw last week already, one of the classic examples of a rochel. We saw in the Kesef Mishnah, he explains why doeg is considered a rochel, and yet, so Shaul was asking and pressuring, and still it's rechilus. So that's the halacha, that even if someone pressures you to speak Lashon Hara rechilus, it's also to speak Lashon Hara rechilus. Okay. Now, just to explain how to do this halacha l'maisa, it goes as follows. We don't want to be fighting with our Rebbe, our friends, certainly not our parents. You don't want to be fighting with your parents. And if this happens, that someone's close to you is demanding of you and asking you and pressuring you to speak Lashon Hara, and you think it's really usher,